Hey, welcome to some more Tecko. So right now we're going to learn basically about a lot of things at once. One thing is about how plants are, but the original thing that this is about here is about, it's a statement, and it's about how words that are said as a family instead of familiars. And basically, it's a statement that I think the plant is saying here that I drew this with is basically a statement that if you have, people saying, stuff like you have a mother, father, and, grandmother, grandfather, and old people that you don't really know and stuff like that, really know you, but there's just not enough information, means that you're getting your nutrients elsewhere to define who you are. Most people also will get their nutrients, which is, it feels like having sex with people or having sexual fantasies, but it's necessary because it's supposed to keep us in a form and keep us the way we are. And it's basically something I'm learning. And anyway, basically, anything that has interruptions, such as, emergencies, someone says, hey, and I mean, which hey is it, and, or someone is speaking and grammar has corrections in it. The English language and all languages right now are still very primitive in this small form. And I think that, in the future, we'll be able to make a more better language by taking it all apart and then making something easier, which doesn't require learning and doesn't require school, which I'll explain later, but it basically was just a place for this to be observed. And there's really no reason to go into a school to look at something when you can look at a plant and know how. And it's just, school is basically just a place to have this happen here. And so, it's actually to learn, but it's just not, it's just too slow, and it's a waste of space. Hiru is a word in Japan, and it sounds like hero. When you use all the words that we have available for that, and you see that, that Hiru, sounds like Hiru, and how it works, and you can see this shape. I'm looking at a Buddhist monk's butt, and I'm saying Hiru because I have a person I know an aunt person that has, her butt is shaped kind of like a triangle, bending over, and it's like wearing those jumper pants. You know how she like bends over, and it's just like a big, kind of triangular looking bend over type of thing, and it's always in my way, and it's always right about something. And I just think that instead of looking at it like a family tree, this is one stalk of one person who is a tree, and I mean, there's a lot of ways a tree can be, and it's not just a trunk, which you don't even know what it's for yet, because there's other reasons. But I mean, you could have a limb be your main part, because you can claim it, so it could be, you could say, I use my hand for everything, and this left hand, could be my thinking utensil. So everything's kind of vice versa and all over the place. But anyway, the point of that, is just, it's basically just about, here we have the human basic experience here. I was basically just going to explain, this is an emergency here, and how fast something could happen. And this is like if a plant, which we talk to every day in shape, and like just being here, there's every single thing can talk to you if it wants to, because there's a distance and there's a location. Anyway, so this is just like if a plant, you ever have your ass itchy and shit, and it feels like, bamboo's up your ass, this is what, wouldn't really do, but this is just kind of, I don't know, it's just something I'm trying to learn here. I got it figured out, but this is the emergency here. And here is basically three symbols, and here is a butt and a heart shape and all kinds of other shapes, a leaf shape. This was a leaf, but Hiru shaped as a leaf, if you look at the Yuri being shot, can look like it's off point because the bow is not a regular bow like this, but it's one that has, a little curve on the bottom when it shoots, and it looks different than other bows, and it aims slightly upwards. And instead of it being a bow that goes straight, it's slightly curved one way or the other, and it does create a opposite, reflection action when you look at it, that being shot incorrectly or correctly. And because of that, if you shot a bow wrong, Hiru kind of sounds like a hero, which is someone who basically is drinking pee, because it tastes like pee, the word Hiru does, Hiru. Because if you keep saying Hiru, 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 and you watch a lot of people having sex and stuff, it doesn't really sound like that person is really having a good time. It probably is really submerged up in pee. And that's just something I'm looking at is, plants. It's just kind of freestyle idea, but it's just that, I thought that maybe pee would be good for a plant, but you can't just say it would be good for, if you pee next to a plant or you give it nitrogen, which is loaded in pee, I think that a plant would like it if you made it like it. But that's part of the system of our bodies, is we have to force that to be liked. You can't just leak a little bit and do some, make it to where it doesn't want it and it's just cold, shitty, ugly pee. You actually have to become a part of it, and you have to, fuck it, because you have to fuck everything. It has to have pleasure. And if you don't, well, if you don't, that's what happens. That's what the results will be. Is when you leave it, don't pay attention and stuff, and it's numb there. You don't pay attention to your environment. You got to be able to have more focus. You have to be able to be aware of every single thing that's going on. When you're not aware, it's Hiru time. It's like Hiru pee. It's like when something isn't right. It's when you're not aware of something and it's cold and you don't feel it, and then something smells bad and it looks like shit. That's when there's old age. It's when there's cuckolds of life, because everything has to be felt, everything has to be sensed, and you have to make yourself more aware, and you can't be doing one thing at a time when you can multitask, because, I know you can multitask and think about one thing at a time, but you can also, do everything, in an orderly fashion, but this is how you function every day, and you don't notice it. But it has to be noticed. You also realize that plants also give us the oxygen we need every day. Why would you think that breathing would want people to breathe people's breath if the plants are where the breath is coming from? And so when you get really close to someone's mouth and it smells like cheese and crackers and it stinks, maybe it's because you need to understand those plants instead of understand how you could probably feed, a piece of a cracker to a squirrel or something outside, or a dog inside. So things have to be packaged well, and it can't just be anything as survival and substance. Survival is probably the worst thing possible, and it's because it doesn't make any sense at all. And we'll get to that part, but it's because of this being what it is. So in order for you to have a good shape and it doesn't get messed up and looks bad and starts wrinkling, and you can tell this by just, flexing and unflexing your muscles and doing it the right way. Also, some people like to bicycle and some people don't. I'd rather smoke cigarettes if it helped me live forever and, keep me with a nice butt. But the thing is the word butt can be really overpronounced, and we'll go into that. But anyway, the thing is about that shape is that if you, I don't know, but here we have basically this leaf. And first I started off just having it where all these come out like this, and it was like kind of like a blooming onion I was looking at, or kind of like a like rubber bands, and you could just kind of like, if you saw like a plastic thing that goes up this way, and you could just flick it like that. Those little bow flexes, and it comes out like this, right? And the bow flex, it pulls and it lets go, and all the pieces can come up to the top. And when you go to sleep, you know, when you get tired, you know, someone is talking and then it could be sprung back and then it could be released and come back. But the thing about that is that, you know, if you don't look at people as types and you don't have the nearest types that you need in order to complete your, you know, song of your day, or, you know, your day song, you know, the music song of your life today, you know, the things that you need to basically function your story of the day, or just not paying attention to bullshit during the day, or plant shit of the day, or whatever, you know, just human shit day, you know. And anyway, so having family that was not being used with type would cause an error, and well, at least something we can make a little bit better. It's always about taking a shape and definition and making it better, instead of making it look like this, and then it's like two people or someone climbing up a building or something, and here's your butt crack up here. And then you're like, well, that signifies what that is, and then you smash it. And that's called smashing, you know, is what they call it, you know. It's really fucked up, and it's not how it's supposed to be. But it is spotting something that's not what it's supposed to be, but that's not how it's supposed to be. Everything is supposed to be able to stay together where it's at. We'll have to figure out more of that, but what I want to do is solve death by looking at everything as a cue. And instead of me being crushed into pieces, you know, I would rather have it to where I understand what this should be is over here, and this shape here is what fixes that, you know, or at least a better shape would fix that, because there's other shapes to look at besides just looking at the same shape over and over and over. With family, we do have where people are looking like they're looking at something over and over and over and over, and it seems to be layering over and over, and someone says, yep, I checked to see if they were seeing it and seeing if they were coherent enough, you know, and then it's not, you know, but it is. But they were just kind of doing, you know, that type of thing is what, you know, this type of stuff, you know, solves. And, you know, so those types of conversations are most common in families, because people can identify with more than just families. And when you take away that family element, though, and it's just that, you know, you can actually do other things to expand by using just type instead of all the complications and of not paying attention. And paying too much attention to what you're not paying attention, you know, to attention. So we have a shit-stained diamond. You can see when a kid is like shitting his pants and he's walking around, you know, 4 years old. I just simulated this looking at my, you know, cousin shitting his pants, you know, in his house or whatever. And, you know, his mom's not paying attention because her butt is shaped like two, you know, like a big Hiru triangle looking Yuri. Well, probably not a Yuri, but more like a Yuri, you know, than a regular, you know, shape of a C backwards or forwards, or, you know, a bow. And here we have a guy climbing the Mount Everest, looks fat. You ever see someone with a mustache and they kind of like, whoosh, and they blow out of their mouth and it looks like a dog's asshole farting, you know, and it doesn't look attractive and doesn't look right. And that is basically what this is, in coherence to basically this, not this. This is the, like, how shitty it could be. If a leaf is what your ass looks like, and it's not actually, I mean, this is a leaf being itself up here. This is a person making a mistake down here. And, you know, you don't want to be a smarter, you know, individual or whatever, looking at someone and saying, well, I'm going to mess up everything they have, you know, because I'm a bacteria and I have little cells and I'm really fast because I'm a neutron. You know, it just doesn't, it's not going to be right. You know, we're trying to figure out how to put all this together. Shit-stained diamond on shape of child's pajamas is normal. And when that is normal in speech and you can smell it and you can taste it and you don't want that to be there, you know, it is not be wanted. You know, you can't, you know, smell that with your finger. You know, if it's not right, you know, it is wrong shape, don't use, you know, or something like that. I also said, you know, I climbed the top of Mount Everest is what this guy's saying. It looks like a comedy. It looks like a, you know, fat comic book character. And, you know, if his name's Everest, you know, and stuff like that. Little, tiny little ways of grammar, you know. And here it says, I climmed the tutup of mut, you know, and couldn't say it completely. Off mut, or whatever, and can't fully complete the sentence right, is basically like a kind of a warning here of how this shittiness could be. And see, that is why this always has to be going on. So when you have fantasies as such, and I saw a Asian girl in a car today. She was really hot, and I just pictured her like just sucking cocks in her car, But I mean, just to drive it before you get into the car, really looking at the blood vessels and looking at the body moving, how there are holes, and how it's kind of entertaining to see someone if they're on a motorcycle and they're holding a motorcycle, some good music and something that is really attractive. And I just didn't see enough in that person that was turning, and I saw the person, so I was like, that person looks like she wants to have some fucking fun. And I don't know why, but I just felt like that's what I wanted to do. So I thought about it, and it helped me, and I keep kind of spreading those ideas and then kind of miming it through, until I can push it back and then gain distance, with it. And then I can just kind of touch that hot piece of paper and move it. And I know that that's in there, that energy is in there of that. It's like a plant, telling that plant to get motivated, suck that water, get that shit, get that shape, feel that goodness, and get that shit right. You want to look more like, this plant, you don't want to look like, a piece of shit called Hiru, which is probably a dead leaf. You want to be a live leaf, so that's the type of thing I'm talking about here. Okay, and that's what is required for us to continue living and without us aging and getting old, and without us falling apart. And it's really important. And so taking a break equals family. We have the same thing here with little pieces, and how it could be if something is standing up, but it is kind of putting itself together and is not really fully like a plant would be if it could hold itself together and it puts itself up. If it was like a Bowflex and the thing comes back up here, you can see how, these two little pieces fall apart. And when you finish the sentence, and then when the word is, do you know what, and when you finish the sentence is, and then someone says something back and it's an eyeball that looks like, I don't know, Robinson Crusoe or some shit like that, some kind of naming like that would happen. When words clump up together like that and it doesn't fit right and it doesn't make you feel or look sexy and doesn't make you as a person really feel like you were there, and it loses your attention, then you need to pay more attention to it. And taking a break, could break something apart if we're taking a break while we're working. And that's kind of a good example there of two different things being there at the same time instead of just one. Because, if you have a father and mother, but you also have someone that taught you a lot more than a father, the same amount, and a mother, a person, could be male or female, either one, in appearance, because it goes by type. So it's really pretty fucked up to use, father and mother as that. Only got 2 more minutes on here. We're going by type on all this. We have corners right here. There's a person when you're saying, go to your room, get in your corner. That's good, because, you can see how you would be a part of a corner if it was like a square. And you can see how, 4 corners could be, corrected. And you can look at, 4 different reflections, then reflect them back to each other to see how that feels, or any full reflection. If families are, grand type, grandmother, grandfather, correctly, they're there, grand type, grandfather, grandmother type. Father-mother type, gets with father-mother type or mother-father type, father-mother, whatever combination has, son-daughter type, and still that is going to be, a reflection and, won't actually be as good as, type in itself to reflect the greater self, which is my symbol, the clove on my arm, but everyone else has their own ones. You have to pick them and find them. It has to be really cool. And, I just thought that it is really good art and fun and fucking stylish. But families arrange and rush quickly, and might incite death, blah, 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 because it would be, no type, familiar, use blood at all for type. And then over here, we have, type should not diminish, attaining type teaches lesson, and this is how it basically should be. Smart symmetry is what we have to use and fueling that symmetry of the things that we see. You don't want to use old body parts. Homer head, don't want to look at someone with 3 hairs and tell them to continue to get fatter. Don't do that. Don't want to have this right here, as an expression, instead of say it, instead of full span attention span. Just pause this and look at it. You know, headless ghost. This is not good to draw, and that's